Hi everyone, we're going to be doing our last notes now on combining like terms, and now we're going to also be using the distributive property, and hopefully you remember what that is, but we'll review as well what the distributive property means. So make sure to pause the video if you need to, if I'm going too fast for you. All right, so let's go ahead and look at an example. So here is a problem, and we have one that has a parentheses. And when we see the parentheses with two terms inside, we know we're going to have to use the distributive property. So before we did it without having something in front here. So we're just going to pretend for a minute that that 9 is not there right now. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to distribute the -4. Now, make sure you include that sign. It's not just a 4. There's a minus sign in front, which means the same thing as -4. So we're going to distribute that 4. Distribute means pass out to each part that's inside the parentheses. And since there's two things inside the parentheses, we're going to pass out the 4 to the 5x. And parentheses means times. That means we're going to be doing the -4 times the 5x. And then we're going to be doing the -4 times that -6. And when we do that, we are going to get that -20x from doing -4 times 5x. And then we're going to do that -4 times that -6. And since it's two negatives, that makes it a positive. And 4 times 6 is 24. So now we have a problem that should look like the one similar that we did this week. So now hopefully it's review. So now we're just going to combine like terms. And so in this one, we only have one that has a variable, so that -20 isn't going to change. And now we're just going to combine our constants. So I have the 9, and I'm going to have that 24. And we're going to go ahead and combine those because, as we know, we can combine constants or normal numbers. And finally, our answer is going to be -20x plus that 33. And 33 was gotten from doing 9 plus 24. And you could write it the other way as writing 33 plus -20x or -20x. But we always like to write it with the variable first and then the constant at the end. So you could write the other way, but this is the most common way that you'll see it as being written most correctly. All right, so let's try another example. So now we have two parentheses in here. So we're going to go ahead and start by using the distributive property. And I'm just going to go ahead and start with this first one here. So I'm going to distribute that 3. So I'm going to pass the 3 to the x, and I'm going to pass the 3 to that 4. So I'm going to be doing 3 times x, and then 3 times 4. And when I do that, I'm going to go ahead and get that 3x, and then that 3 times 4 is our 12. Now the next part is passing out that next number. It's a -2. So remember, just like with the other problem, we want to make sure we pass out -2, not just the 2. So now we're going to be doing -2 times x, and then -2 times 4. And when we do that, -2 times x gives us -2x. And then -2 times 4, a negative times a positive gives us that negative, and 2 times 4 is 8. Okay? So all I did here is I passed out both numbers in front of the parentheses, and so now I got rid of all my parentheses, and now it should look like the problem that we've done earlier this week. And so now you're just going to go ahead and combine the like terms. So I'm going to combine the x's. So I have 3x minus 2x. Again, make sure to include that negative sign. And then I'm going to combine my constants, my 12 and that negative 8. And so when we do that, we're going to get 3x minus 2x is x. Or if you really want to write that number, you could write it as 1x because 3 minus 2 is 1. It can be written either way. More commonly, you'll see it as just the x. And then 12 minus 8 is 4. So then we write it as plus 4. And again, now we're done with the problem. So I can't combine the x with a constant, so we're done. So we have those two terms left, and we can go ahead and move on to the next problem. All right, I have one more problem for you today, and it's dealing with two parentheses again. So here in this problem, we don't have a number in front of this parenthesis, so there's nothing to distribute, nothing to pass out to inside. So we just have to now deal with this next one, and I don't see a number there, but I do see a sign in front. So I'm subtracting this group minus this group. So what we want to do is, if there was a number here, it would be a 1. So we can, if we want, to think of this as a 1 being here, just so that we can drop the parentheses. So we're going to go ahead and pass out that negative 1. So I'm going to do negative times that 4r, and then that negative times that 10t. So if I go ahead and I pass it out, and I went ahead and I put the 1 there just so we could see a number there. If I pass that out, finally we're going to end up getting negative 4r. And again, we got that negative 4r from that negative times that 4r. And then we got that negative 10 because we had a negative 1 times a positive 10t. So make sure you understand how we just did that. Okay. So now we go ahead, and since we didn't have a number in front of this parenthesis, we can go ahead and drop the parentheses. And we distribute that negative sign so we can drop the parentheses there. So now you have again a problem that we saw earlier this week. So now we're just down to combining like terms. And this time we have t's and we have r's. So we're going to make sure we combine the correct ones, the like terms. So I went ahead and I'm going to made the r's red, so 12r minus 4r. And then I'm going to go ahead and combine the t's, my 2t minus the 10t. And when we do that, 12r minus 4r is 8r. And then 2t minus 10t gives us that negative 8t. And now we just follow the rules of the alphabet. So we put the r's first, and then we put the t's next because that's how you would see it in the alphabet. You could write it the other way as putting negative 8t plus 8r, but you'll most commonly see it written as alphabetical order. So those are 3 examples. If I went too fast, go back, look at them, and hopefully you can see how we did each of those problems. Again, if you have any trouble, just make sure to email me or make sure to come in on the Zoom to be able to see how we're doing the problems.